Welcome back to the Home Ed 360 podcast. This is a podcast where we explore the many ways families are reimagining education at home and beyond. Today's episode is a special one because we're diving into the origin story and impact of a program that shaped the educational journeys of countless Idaho families. This program is the Idaho Home Learning Academy, or more commonly known as IHLA. Joining me is Dr. Terri Sorensen, an experienced educator and one of the foundational leaders behind IHLA. Dr. Sorensen will share her own story, what drew her to alternative education, and what continues to inspire her work. We'll also explore how this innovative program got started, what needs it what needs it is designed to meet, and how it continues to grow and adapt in response to the families it serves. We'll also unpack how IHLA fits within the Oneida School District and can partner with Home Ed 360, as well as how funding works, what pivotal decisions have been made to get to this point, and Dr. Sorensen's dream for IHLA. Dr. Terri Sorensen brings so much wisdom and experience to the conversation. I'm truly excited for her to share it with us today. So let's dive in and get started. To start off, we're going to introduce Dr. Terri Sorensen a little bit. Terri Sorensen is a passionate, lifelong learner and constantly is searching for innovative ways to engage students in the learning process. Terri received her doctorate in educational leadership from Northwest Nazarene University. Terri has been a teacher, special education director, assistant principal, technology director, principal, and executive director of education. Working in a small rural district in southeastern Idaho has given her the opportunity to explore every facet of K-12 education. Terri is currently working as the executive director of Idaho Home Learning Academy, or IHLA. IHLA is a public virtual school serving over 7,900 students across the state of Idaho. Their mission is to provide a rigorous, engaging, and individualized education, preparing students for success in the 21st century through innovative practices and strong partnerships. Terri's background in teaching, technology, and administration makes this adventure the perfect fit for her. In her spare time, she loves spending time with her family and friends, gardening, hiking, and traveling. Now that we know a little bit more about Dr. Terri Sorensen and what IHLA is, let's dive in a little bit deeper to IHLA and what it is. So IHLA is an online virtual charter school. Can you go a little bit deeper into that, Terri?
Yes, so thanks for asking me to be here today. Excited to spend some time with you. IHLA is a public virtual charter school within Idaho. So we are a public school, and a year ago we converted to a charter school within Idaho. And this is our 10th year in existence.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you into the world of education?
Well, I grew up in Malad, Idaho, which is a small little community of about 3,000 people in southeastern Idaho, about 10 miles from the Utah border. I lived my whole life here. I was raised on a ranch. I married, had 5 children, and my husband and I owned a dry farm and grow wheat, safflower. And I love education. I loved school when I was a student, and I stayed really active in our school district and started teaching as a CTE technology teacher years ago, and then just was very passionate about education in our small community and in Idaho in general, and just stayed with that career.
That's very cool. I didn't know you guys had a dry farm and that you grew up on a ranch. That's awesome. What experiences or values have led you to become involved in alternative learning models?
I think it was an easy move for me. I was in a traditional brick and mortar setting for a long time, but I was always passionate about technology and what technology could do to engage students in education. And so I think it was a really natural fit. And when this opportunity came along, it was a good fit for me to jump in and learn more. I love a challenge. I love being innovative. And as we talk today, you certainly will see that's what we do here at IHLA.
And back then, when you saw that, that transition in your career, did you ever think that IHLA would be what it is today?
No. So you're asked in here how IHLA came to be. So I'll tell you a little bit. I had a new boss, and it was my first time I had been with our new superintendent in our district. And we went to Boise to the IASA conference that we go to every fall. And it was first time I'd met him, been with him, and he said, "Hey, I know you're passionate about technology. I think I know a guy from when I worked in Utah, and he wants to talk to me about an opportunity that we would have. Will you come with me?" Well, you don't tell your new boss, "No, I won't come with you." So of course I was like, "Sure." And that was the first person that we met. And our program had been previous to that with West Ada, and before that in a couple bigger districts in Idaho. And West Ada had decided not to continue with the program, a lot because of providing special ed services online to students. And so there was about 200 students that had been with them that were without a school, had no home. So they asked our district, and Oneida School District has generally, I'd say on average, 950 students, K-12 in our entire district. So they asked if we would take it on. And this is in the 1st of August, and school starts in 2 weeks. And so my new boss and I, Dr. Moore, sat down and talked about it. And he's like, "Hey, do you just want to take it on and see what we can do with it on side of your other jobs?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And then here we are 10 years later with a great program, a lot of experience under our belt, and much wiser about things than we were then.
So that back in 2015 then?
16 was our first year.
And was it at that time, it was an online or like a virtual school that you were taking on, or what was it?
The same similar program. West Ada had been partnering with an education service provider and doing the same similar type program that we had. And so they asked if Oneida would partner with that provider. And we started out with that provider with 200 kids, and then took on another ESA provider in January with about 25 more kids. And that's what our first year looked like. And then we've just expanded over the years, worked with different education service providers that we've partnered with. Yeah, and grew a lot over the years.
So back then in the very beginning, what needs were you hoping to meet, or like what audience and community were you hoping to draw to the school in the very beginning?
So when the program was first given to us, the target audience was bringing students that had been in traditional homeschool families back into a public school setting, and providing them with resources, certified teachers, counselors, special ed 504 services, and then the supplemental learning funds that they could use towards helping buy some of the curriculum and things that they wanted to use with each of their children. And so at the very beginning, it was very much targeted at traditional homeschool families and bringing them back into a public school setting.
Okay. And did you just start in Malad and look around for families? Did you go to other places within Idaho, or where did you guys start looking?
So the original 200 students were already enrolled. They had planned on being in West Ada. And a big part of why we did it is these kids no longer had a home. And so they were just hoping to keep their program going that they had. And so we took those original 200 students. And then since then, it's always been the educational service providers we partner with that recruit and bring the students into the program.
Okay. What sort of things did you do right off the bat to when you had those 200 students, what were your roles that you did in the early days?
So my role has pretty much stayed the same. It's just gotten bigger with numbers. And so I have more people that work under me. But I started off in charge of the program, and I had one special ed teacher and three general ed teachers the first year. And so our first thing after taking it on is we had to hire teachers, get people in place to support the students and work with the state on, hi, here we are, we're a school. We had to do all the things so that they could get set up with the state to be a virtual school within Idaho. And like I said, we made this decision like the first week in August, and school started 2 weeks later. So we just jumped right in and made it work that first year.
What were the core educational values or beliefs that year, or maybe like in the next couple of years, that really started driving IHLA?
Well, after we got going and we started understanding and creating more of a vision, I think it's pretty much stayed the same. We want to empower our students to be in charge of their own education, to help them become independent learners. We want to personalize their learning. The beauty of IHLA is that every student can find what fits best for them. And some kids are visual learners, some are text-based learners. And we just wanted to provide the options that engaged every student and made their learning personalized. And then our programs based on mastery education, that we've always from the very beginning started with state standards and shown growth toward our students growing and mastering those standards. And another core value is just our support for families. In the beginning, I feel like the families were skeptical a lot of the district of public education, and we tried to start building those bridges, because I think one of our core values is we're here to support families in their journey.
Yeah, I love that, like the family involvement, that it's not just the student, but the whole family. And that kind of maybe ties into the next question of how does IHLA define success for students, and how is that different from the just a traditional brick and mortar school?
One of the things that we really base our success on is our students loving learning. Are they engaged in their learning experience? Are they learning how to learn? Are they becoming independent learners? Are they just gaining a love for learning? And that is what I see as success, because we don't even know right now what we need to teach our children that will prepare them for the future in certain things. However, we do know that there are core things that they need to be taught, like problem solving, critical thinking, and just a love for wanting to learn and challenge themselves. And that's always our first priority in defining success, and also that they can learn from real life experiences. It's one of my favorite things when I get to see some of the assessments that are submitted by students is they're learning through real life experiences, and it's very relevant to them. And we do all of the state required standardized testing. And as we move forward, we'll be putting more emphasis on you'll see why as we talk more, but probably a bigger emphasis on student engagement than a traditional school.
Yeah, thank you. I am glad you brought that up too, because I know people have questions about testing and what that, what changes that might bring for the coming years. How does the relationship between IHLA and the Oneida School District work, and what does that team look like, and who is it made up of?
So for the first 9 years, we were a school within Oneida School District. We still had all of our own administrators, our own teachers, our own everything we needed to run our school, but we were just like a separate building or school with Oneida School District. Last year we opened our doors starting last fall as a charter school. We converted to become a charter school, but we are still authorized. Our authorizer, every charter school has to be authorized by someone, and our authorizer is Oneida School District. So it really hasn't changed. The biggest change has been we now have our own board of directors, where before it was the Oneida School District superintendent, their board, and then myself, and then down from there, that was the structure. And now we have our own board of directors as a charter school. However, the superintendent of Oneida School District and one of their school boards sits on our board of directors.
Okay. And so the superintendent has changed from the beginning and the start of the program until now, right?
Yes, Dr. Moore was the first Oneida School District superintendent that together we started the program. And then he retired, and John Abrams has been the superintendent in Oneida School District. And he's currently, this is his last year. They keep leaving me. Retiring. So now that we're a charter, as the executive director, I serve in that role as superintendent and under our board of directors. And then the Oneida authorizing district, one of them sits on the superintendent, and one school board member sit on our board of directors.
Okay. What is the relationship between IHLA and Home Ed 360?
So our program is based on us contracting with educational service providers, which we do an RFP, and we put out an RFP and they apply, and Home Ed 360 was one of the education service providers selected. We have 3 different ones. It was one selected to work with IHLA. I often get the question, why do you have 3? We have 3 because they all have to show us how they're innovative and different and offer different options to families. And we have 3 amazing education service providers we work with, one of which is Home Ed 360, and they all offer very different innovative programs for parents and students.
Thank you for breaking that down and kind of showing us, yeah, the different partners. And I didn't have that question on here, but I'm glad you answered why there are 3 different partners. So families receive funding. Who do they receive that from, and how does that process work?
So we contract with the partners, and then the partners provide, and I want to clarify, this is a question I get asked often, are we giving money to the families? No, it is, we don't give out cash on the corner, or we don't hand out dollar bills, $100 bills. Each student has a supplemental learning fund that is an account with an amount attached to it that they can either direct bill the partner. They can so you could come to IHLA and get a free and appropriate education and never have to expend any funds, because you can direct buy through Home Ed 360 or our different partners, or there is a reimbursement process. If there's something that you want outside of what they offer in direct buy, you can go through, get approved and get reimbursed. But again, it's an account with an amount attached to it, and that's what they use. We don't give out money.
And for those who are listening, we have a whole podcast episode on the funds and what kind of things funds can be used to purchase and what reimbursements and direct orders look like. So we have a whole episode on that. That's a couple episodes before this episode is coming out. So who pays teachers, and then who manages the employment, and where are the teachers from, and what does all that all look like?
So as the school, that is our responsibility to hire the teachers. We hire teachers. We try to stay with teachers in Idaho, but we obviously have teachers outside of Idaho in numerous different states. But the majority of our teachers are in Idaho. So we hire the teachers. We do all the HR with the teachers. We pay the teachers. We evaluate the teachers as a district. So they are our employees.
Okay. And will you walk us through how state grants or funding apply to a program like this?
So we are a public school in Idaho, so we are funded like any public school would be in Idaho. It's based on number of students in units by grade. And so we report to the state monthly in our required state upload who our students are, and then we receive funds from the state like other public schools do. However, being a virtual school, not just IHLA, but all virtual schools, we do not receive funding for facilities unless it's a program where you have kids come into a building, or we can receive some funding for rental of places for testing, graduations, but we generally don't receive the same facilities funds or transportation funds.
And then if you wouldn't mind, provide us with a high-level breakdown of ownership, leadership, and how the funding flows for the organization.
Well, we enroll all the students in our school. So then again, we take every month, the state has a required reporting apparatus that shows who our students are. We have to show that they're residents of live in Idaho. We have to report all about them, their different demographics, different programs like who's in special ed, who's on a 504, those type of things to the state. Then we receive the funding from the state. And then we contract with each partner, and then the funding goes to the partner and flows down to the parent.
Okay. Let's move into the growth over the years because, as we've already mentioned, and as everybody knows, IHLA started out with the 200 students, but has grown significantly. How has IHLA evolved since its inception?
So growth would be the biggest one. We started out the first year with under 250 kids, and then we've just grown exponentially. We went from 200 to 550 to 1,500 to 2,500, and then COVID happened. And in 1 year, we went from 2,500 to 7,200 students, and we all still have PSD over that year, PTSD over that year. And then I thought, well, now COVID's over, our numbers will somehow balance back down. They did a bit, we went to 6,100, and then since then have moved back up to almost 8,000 kids. And so growth has definitely been the biggest evolution of IHLA. And then also evolving into how the state views us as a program and what we can do to meet the state requirements and still provide our families and students the type of education that we believe our goals and our mission and purpose center around. And so it's always been a challenge. Special education services, giving them virtually online, has been one of our biggest challenges. Hiring that many teachers to serve those students virtually. State accountability has been, how are we going to meet the state accountability for a public school? And that is really our role as IHLA and as the school, is to make sure that we are meeting the state requirements.
It's pretty amazing that, no one predicted COVID to happen, but yet IHLA had started well before COVID did happen and was just such a wonderful option for when COVID happened, that people were able to find IHLA and be a part of it, even though it was crazy for, obviously, for you guys, like you said, the PTSD, but having the option that had already been around is
And
pretty.
one of the things that happened was we had been learning how to meet IDEA and state special ed requirements and making sure we were doing that in a virtual world. And we worked a lot, with the state because they questioned if we were meeting the federal IDEA requirements. And then when COVID happened, we built that relationship, and they started calling us up and saying, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? Because pretty soon everyone during COVID was in our world. And so it was good that we were able to have that background, and it didn't affect our students as much. But one of the things that it did change, and that we did have a different clientele a bit. COVID helped families realize I just don't have to walk out front and put my kid on the bus that drives by to go to school. There are options. And we did not see near the drop in enrollment I thought we would after COVID, because a lot of families realized it was a good fit for them. And so it changed a bit of our clientele. Now we still have traditional homeschool families that come back in and educate through IHLA, but we have a lot more higher percentage of students that have left traditional school to come to IHLA.
I worked for another online school previous to working here, and that was one of the first, that was back in the times of COVID, was one of the first times that we could say met you. It was in a Zoom meeting, and that online school that a district in Idaho Falls was starting, we came to IHLA and we said, can we have a Zoom meeting with you, and can we pick your brain about all the things that you do? Because yeah, our school district that I was in at the time had no idea what to do or how to start a successful online school. And so, yeah, we were one of the schools that turned to your program because we knew that you guys had already had success, wanted to know more about your model and how it worked and all of that. So can you describe how the student population, staff, and structure have changed from the beginning until now?
I think the biggest change in student again is we have now more students that have left a more traditional setting and came to IHLA versus just students coming from a traditional homeschool setting. And so we have more of a mixture. And so with that mixture, it changes what you have to support. A family that's been homeschooling on their own for 20 years has a lot more resources, possibly. They're a lot more, used to that schooling from home type setting, where students coming in from a traditional brick and mortar school need support in different ways. Oftentimes they like a more scripted curriculum that really guides them, because whoever's at home with them doesn't have that homeschooling background. So it brings challenges in making sure our program meets the needs of a wider variety of students. Our staff has changed, and our structure has changed from, like I said, the first year there was me and one special ed teacher and 3 teachers. And they were originally it. I didn't bring the numbers, but I can come close. We have about 330 to 40 teachers. That includes counselors, interventionists, gifted and talented, special education, 504, all of the people that meet those needs. And we have about 16 administrators that oversee special education, 504, and then our K-8 program and our high school program. So we have about 16 different administrators. So it has grown. At the beginning, I knew and did everything, and now all the little things like the monthly state reporting upload and all the enrollment of kids, our staff has grown in our office to 14 people that do all those same things that we did with those 200 kids, but still the same thing, just in a larger capacity.
You mentioned curriculum, so something amazing is that families can come and they can choose a curriculum that they would like to use for their family, that the curriculums and resources that work best. Did it look like that when you started the school? Was it that way that families could come and choose their curriculum?
Yes, that part hasn't changed a lot. In working with the state, we have to provide a curriculum to all families. So all families do, within their LMS, have options to a curriculum that's aligned to state standards that we provide. And then they can choose whatever supplemental resources they want to use, or whatever things that they want to use, and submit to show their mastery of standards. And that has pretty much, it's been tweaked over the years, but pretty much that's one of the basic fundamental things of our program is parent choice, student choice, what curriculum works best for them? How do they like to learn? What learning style do they have? And the beauty of the program to me is that Home Ed 360 and all of our partners look at the student, they meet with the family, and they figure out what works best for that student. And numerous times families have kids that are all different. And so they may all use different things because every child learns differently. So that's the fundamental way it started and will always be the most important component of making sure that those students are engaged in the way that they want to be, and that families have the materials they want to use for their students that fit their needs.
I was gonna ask if you could pinpoint some specific things that make IHLA, why so many people have joined IHLA, and I think that's one of the reasons, right? Because there's so much parent and family choice. Families can choose for their whole family or for their individual children what are the things that their family needs, and the parents are able to choose that. What other ways In what other ways is IHLA unique from other schools? And are there any other things you can think of to pinpoint specific things that draw people to IHLA?
I think the parent choice for each of their students is a big draw. I think also the support we provide is a big draw. I talked to many parents who were homeschooling on their own before they found IHLA, and now they have the support of a certified teacher they can go to. They have counselors, special ed services, 504 services, just so many things that we can provide them that they didn't have, on top of the ability to choose and get some of those resources they want to use to teach with. So it's all about family choice and then us supporting them in their journey, with the things that we can offer them.
And something I was going to mention too, you mentioned that each partner provides curriculum. So Home Ed 360's curriculum that we provide is mini lessons for each of the subjects for each grade band that cover the state standards. So just for those listening, if they're wondering what Home Ed 360's may be, it's our mini lessons that we provide through Schoology. And a lot of people have really liked the mini lessons that we've provided this year, and it's been really fun as teachers for us to provide those mini lessons for our families. Have the goals or mission of IHLA, has it shifted over time, or do you feel like it from the start it's stayed consistent?
I feel like overreaching, it stayed consistent, but it has changed in focus. It's changed in when we only had 200 students and we were trying to figure it out, no one really noticed us. Now that we have almost 8,000 students, we are under a magnifying glass. And so even though our purpose and mission has not changed, that we've talked about today has not changed, we have to change and make sure we're meeting all of the state requirements, that we're in line with everything the state's expecting of us. We're providing special ed services, a route line to IDEA, and that we have a rigorous program, and that we can show student growth, that they are providing us public school dollars to educate these students, and they want to see student growth. Our state testing scores in IRI and ISAT have not been stellar. And that is one of the things we're focusing on, is making sure we're providing an MTSS or intervention process that will support students who need those interventions, and that we help families understand the importance of that. Because whether you're an advocate of standardized testing or not, that's a whole nother podcast. But when public school dollars are given to educate students, legislators, other schools, people looking for schools, all grade us on those state assessments. And so that is something we've have had to and will continue to increase our focus on.
Yeah, and I hope we can take that more to heart, in that, like, to keep this program as amazing as it is, we can help our kids, we can help the children get better scores on those tests. And we do talk about that in a couple of other podcast episodes.
Yeah, I've learned through the last legislative session, and they're already gearing up for next legislative session, that we would not be under near the scrutiny or near the magnifying glass if we could say, oh, look, our scores are at or above state standard or state averages, would not be near. But they question the public school dollars going somewhere where our scores don't show that high of proficiency or growth. And so, like I said, like it or not, that's how public schools are looked at. And I just wish that I could help all our parents. I frequently hear parents say, we don't believe in those tests, or they're not important to us. If you're going to use public school dollars to educate students, that is what is important to the people that give us those dollars. And how cool would it be if we could stand up in front of the legislature and highlight our program showing what, because we have an amazing program, amazing families and students. And I would love to be able to highlight it, that look at where we're at with our state testing.
Yeah, and change our perspective on the test to it's just something annoying and frustrating that we have to do and get done because we're in the program, to the test can show us how we can help our kids grow, in what areas can we help them achieve more success.
Exactly. And that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah. How do you prioritize what programs or services to offer families each year?
So we have a continuous improvement plan at IHLA, and we set goals at the first of the year. We look at the things we want to accomplish, and then we see how close we came to accomplishing those things. And a big part of that is the partners have input. They survey their families. The families get input into what's working, what's not working, what they would like to see every year through the survey. The survey covers all the services they're getting, how are their teachers meeting their needs, how are the partners meeting their needs. And so we try to listen to all the stakeholders, from the families. We have teacher surveys and find out what everyone feels is going well and what things they would like to see change. So we try to listen and give voice to all the stakeholders and then set goals from there.
Which we so appreciate. I, as a teacher in Home Ed 360, and I know the families, we have felt that our voices are heard within IHLA, and we're so very grateful to you and to IHLA for that.
Well, thank you.
What are the challenges? What are some of the challenges we've kind of you've started to touch on, the challenges, but what are some of the challenges that IHLA faces today?
State accountability and keeping the program going. How do we navigate the upcoming legislation? There will be changing laws in Idaho about virtual education. How do we keep our program going and fit within those new changing laws? I spent a lot of time in Boise at the Capitol this year, and there are a lot of differing opinions on education itself, on virtual education, what that should look like, how the money should flow, standardized test scores, and all those things. And so you're going to see a huge push this summer. If you go to idahoed.com, you will see that the legislators are doing a tour this summer that you can sign up for and participate in. They're going to do a tour around the state and get input from people on what they believe education should look like. And so as we go into the next legislative session, our big goals are going to be, and we've sent this out to parents, please encourage your students to do good on their spring testing, on their ISATs, their IRIs, so that we can start showing growth and showing proficiency. And what we will be faced with is helping legislators understand where IHLA fits into education in Idaho.
I am going to put the idaho.ed and all the details about the tour into the episode notes for those that are listening, they can click on that and see, so that we can be a part of that tour and we can get our voices heard by those that are coming around from the state.
It's IdahoEd, all one word, .com.
Okay.
And when you go there, it's just got a place you can register, and then they will send you the tour dates around the state. They're just going to go get input throughout the state from what parents who really, in my educational believe should be the ones that drive the education of the students, not the people at the top, the legislators, whoever. It should be from parent voice in our state. And so this is a way they're giving parent voice, and this will really shape what legislation we're facing next year and if we can keep IHLA functioning as it is now.
Yeah, now is the time for us as parents to step up and share what we want for the education for our kids now and for the future.
Yeah, and we're hoping to send a letter out this soon to parents and thank them for letting us work with their children and appreciate all the support they gave this year in the legislators and legislation. And there's going to be countless opportunities between now and January when the legislative session opens again for them to visit with different legislators in their area. And we want to give them the talking point that they should always make is, this is why this program is a good fit for my family. This is how it has served my students. This is why we need this type of a program for our students. It's not good for parents sometimes to get off in the weeds of how the finances work or things like that that they may not be the expert on. But what they are the expert on is, this is how this program has helped my student. This is why I need this program for my family. And there are a lot of parents, and they can have a voice if they can help the legislators see why this program supports their students.
Yeah, and why they chose something alternative to the public brick and mortar school. Maybe why they brought their child out of the public brick and mortar school or started off their kids, from the beginning in this program. Are there more misconceptions about IHLA that you'd like to clear up?
I think we've talked about some of them today, so I appreciate this opportunity. One is just the role of the teacher in IHLA. Sometimes we get the question, how much time is the teacher spending face-to-face with the students? So misconception, it isn't a traditional setting. It's asynchronous with some synchronous opportunities, but the parent, the teacher, and the curriculum, virtual and curriculum, all work together in the place to team up to provide that instruction for the student, and how important that is. We're a public school. We have state oversight, and that is one of the things. We do follow all the state rules for public schools. And then again, just understanding that I get so many questions about handing out money again to parents. It's an account. It's that they can use that account to purchase supplemental materials that will fit what they need for their students' classes and curriculum. But yeah, I think the biggest thing the parents can do again is be able to talk with the people about why the program best serves them and their families.
And there are so many of those. Janet Cox within Home Ed 360, she just put out a document, or maybe it did come from IHLA, a document that people could write, why this program has served their family well. And I read through those, and it's just amazing to hear the stories that how families find success through this program, and that they're able to choose what their child needs, but also have the teacher support. That's the teacher that's helping them with other options and other ideas, and the accountability of the submissions, the accountability of the testing. So many families just have testified the success of their families being in this program, and it's really wonderful to hear all of that.
It is, and I love to hear those stories. And there are so many of them, and they're all so different when you talk to every family. And that's what we need to get out. And that's what the legislators need to know about our program, are all those individual stories of why this is a good fit.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason we started this podcast too, so that people can share their stories and share their insights and ideas of what different success they found for their family and how they have found that to help inspire each other. What is next for IHLA? What do you foresee for the future of IHLA?
So a lot of our focus as we end this year is getting ready to visit with legislators to get out there the truth, not the misunderstandings or the misconceptions, and start trying to be better at PR and helping legislators, other schools, communities understand what we do offer. And then internally working with our students to better pinpoint where they're at in their learning and what they can do to better prepare themselves to show that through our state assessments. And there'll be some changes coming up next year where we hopefully can better pinpoint the things that students need and be here to support families in that, and so that we can move forward and make sure we don't have any holes and that they're ready to move forward in their learning. And that's going to be a lot of the initiatives you see, that we better support families in that role and helping them understand, like we talked about, we're being looked at, we're being scrutinized by legislators, by the State Department, by other parents and families that look at our program, and we want to be able to shine. We want to be able to say, look, this program is successful, students are learning, and it is a legitimate educational option for families. So you'll see a lot of initiatives and things put in to better help us go in that direction as we move forward. And then you'll just see us again asking parents, because we all need to work as a team. We're all in this together. There's IHLA, the partners, and the families. And we've all got to get on the same page and be a force as we move forward in educating legislators and in supporting our program, so that as the legislation comes out next year, we're ahead of it. We're not just in the middle, like all of a sudden being blindsided, that we know what's happening, that we're very much on top of it and are educating people about our program and what it has to offer.
Do you have any more specifics? So you mentioned the tour this summer, and we'll put the info out for people to make sure that they have the details on that. Are there any other specifics that you can mention that we can do throughout this summer to get ahead of it?
I know that Home Ed 360 is going to have some activities in the park and throughout the summer where they invite the legislators to come and meet with families. I would encourage every parent to watch for those. Don't quit checking your email. Keep watching over the summer and signing up for those. Anything that you can do when you see an opportunity to visit with someone, educate yourself on who those legislators, both senators and representatives, are in your area, and let them know, I'm a voter, I live in your area, and this is a program that's important to me. And when you have the parents of almost 8,000 students, if we can all work together along with IHLA and the partners, we'll have a huge voice. So just look for opportunities over the summer and in the fall, because if you are watching for them, they will be there for you to reach out.
And I'll put the information in as well. If you don't already know who your senator is and your representatives, you can look it up, your senator for your district and your representatives, and their emails are on there, sometimes their phone numbers as well. So you can email them, you can call them and tell them what education choice you prefer, so that they know. Are there new initiatives or dreams on the horizon for IHLA?
I think our big one is to just get to a safe, secure place. Our big dream, our big vision is to have a program that we can educate all students, provide them the support that they need, and be in a place where the legislator and the state sees us as a very compliant, legitimate school doing the things that we need to do. So we'll keep working that direction again, all of us together, and we'll get there.
We will get there. One last question. It kind of just goes along with what you said, but if there were no constraints, like nothing with funding, policy, or logistics, what's one dream that you would pursue for IHLA?
Well, I worry about and think about IHLA a lot because I love my job. I could have retired a few years ago, but I'm passionate about IHLA, passionate about education, and my I love what I do, but I will eventually retire, and I want to make sure that before I do that, that again, Isla's in a safe place, that the legislators are not questioning us, the state is not questioning us, that they see us as a very legitimate school choice option in Idaho. And my dream would be that IHLA will continue for many, many years, educating students in a safe, individualized environment where the learning is personalized to each student and meets the needs of each family.
And we're so extremely and beyond words grateful for that, Terri, because if it weren't for you advocating for this program, I know there's many people advocating and we can ourselves are advocating, but you have been a voice that's been heard. You've, yeah, like you said, you've been at the Capitol advocating so much for this program and showing our leaders, our state leaders, what this program is and why we should have this program. And so thank you so much for not retiring and being here so that IHLA can continue the way that it is continuing.
Yeah,
We are
we'll get
all
it to a place
excited
where it's safe and secure and can continue to serve students.
Thank you so much. All right, just to wrap up, I think we'll just do one more question and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. What's one message that you'd like to leave with the families of IHLA today?
I think first, thank you for letting us work with your students and your families. I feel blessed every day to work with such great educators, everyone in IHLA, from our staff to our teachers, to the families, to the partners. I feel so blessed to work with such great educators. So thank you for letting us work with your children. And we appreciate it. And like I said, we're all going to work together in unison, and we'll have a loud voice to make sure that IHLA is safe and secure.
Thank you so much, Terri. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and wrap up there. But what an inspiring look at the journey behind IHLA. You have shared your heart and your story and your vision today for the future of home learning in Idaho, and we're so grateful for that. And as always, thank you for joining us here on the Home Ed 360 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you think might benefit from it. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep writing your own educational story.